Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on X, and here to review the Chelsea game with me is my good old friend Uncle Mike, also known as FPL Mike H on X. How you doing, Mike?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm not as down in the dumps as I thought I'd be, given
Yeah,
the sequence of results since the last international break. And I go through phases in this. You'll know me. You know me personally, so you'll know I do this. Like, I'm in a phase where I'm trying to detach from social media. So I
absolutely.
consumed the game yesterday, like on my own. I actually watched it at home. I usually go to a pub or a friend's house, but watched it on my own yesterday. Um, and I really enjoyed the experience. I kind of muted the
Mm,
commentary.
yeah. Oh,
Stayed
really?
away.
Completely muted the commentary.
Okay, I'm lying. I tried to, but then
Yeah.
I got FOMO of like not hearing the away end and
Oh,
the atmosphere and stuff.
that one. Just on that briefly. I know exactly what you mean. I just want to touch on it. I'm in the same kind of zone after the Milan game. The comment you was there, and I know you was there. The Milan game commentary was shocking.
I heard it was bad.
Right,
Who was it? Was it
really.
Ali McCoy?
Ali McCoy, really, really bad. So such a double standard commentary. But that's another story. But as soon as the game finished, I went to bed. I
Really?
just went, yeah, straight. And I was thinking of you and my brother out there who were like stuck in the away end for like an hour after, and all the ball ache that you had to get home after. And I was in that fortunate position where that I wasn't so much disappointed. I was disappointed with the result, but it was just one of those where I couldn't be dealing with the nonsense on social media, which is pretty much how I've been since yesterday with this game, in the same kind of zone. It's encouraging. I think sometimes you've just got to block out the noise and focus on how you feel about it, and rather than how other people should tell you how you feel about it.
Yeah, the irony of that is doing a podcast, right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
of course. But now, but at least we're doing it sort of 24 hours after, with a
yeah,
little bit more time. Where I know the instant reactions they have a place and they are quite good, but I think you're a little bit more measured. You've had time to sleep on it. I didn't watch Match of the Day. I don't know about you,
no,
but
I didn't.
no, no. So
No,
I've sort of had a total media blackout, really. But
yeah, no. The reason I brought that up was there's two sides of it. One is the kind of non-Arsenal fans where you get
yeah,
narratives where I'm like, what? But then what I found surprising was given that I watched it on my own, didn't really watch it through a timeline on Twitter. Logged on this morning when I was kind of setting all of this up and just had a skim. I was like, even by Arsenal fans were like, whoa, there's a real disparity in how some
mm,
people are feeling, like ranging from people like myself who still think 9 points is manageable to catch up on Liverpool to, and we'll talk on that later, to people like doom and gloom, to extremities of people genuinely wanting Arteta's head
yeah.
to, yeah. And I was just like, wow, yeah,
We've gone back to the Arsenal, same old Arsenal fan base, haven't we?
I
Where
think so.
this is what I'm worried about, is that we've been so united, for a phrase, over the last couple of years, that we're starting to see a bit of splinters. And I think there's a few people out there who want to wheel out that I told you Arteta was shit all along. It's such on a knife edge, isn't it? The whole thing. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah,
No, but it's worth chatting about, and yeah, that's what like so for people that well, for anyone that usually listens regularly, you'll know the usual format we do. But for anyone that's new here, we usually go through like talk through the lineup, usually check like the stats and kind of have more of a conversation around that. But today we're going to go more conversational, so I think that's why this is all fine, to be honest, in terms of like where you want to take it. So let's start with the general summary of the game, let's say. How would you kind of summarize that game in a minute?
I felt disappointed.
Okay.
I thought they were there for the taking. They're an improved Chelsea team. I give them that. They had moments, but I thought we shut their threats down. Um, Majority of the time, there was that one sloppy moment when Neto was a dangerous player for them. Um, we created, and we did have chances. I, I don't think 1-1 was a fair result. I think
Okay.
we edged it. But in the context of the last three, as you say, phases in the last 3 games, and you're disappointed that you didn't get a point there, more than a point there. But equally, I don't think we was any position to lose, but the thought and the consequences of losing, it almost made me relieved at the end where it was 1-1.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think 1-1 was probably a fair result, but one of them where a tiny margin could have swung either way. Like they had that kind of, was it the Gusto header, which I think was harder than people were making out. Like people were making out as a sitter. Like I think, I don't know about you. I don't think that's a sitter at all.
No.
I also saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Neto's completely done White there." I don't think he did. Like, I think White made it difficult for him to get the initial cross in. That it took him 6 attempts to get it in.
Yeah. So, and I think, I mean, but I think we were the team that were pushing for the winner, and it was nice to see. Okay, we're backed in that corner now that we can't sit and onto that 1-0 lead, can we? We need to win these games. So I think there's the narrative about us being like going back to the defending all the time, and I think we were the team that were pushing constantly, and like the second half for the Milan game, if you want to reference back to that. So the view of the game, yes, I was just a little bit disappointed, but the helicopter view, I'm encouraged by the green shoots that I'm seeing in the last, certainly the whole game of this. There was improvements, and the second half of the Milan game, it gives me reasons to be encouraged going forward.
Yeah, I think if I could just essentially copy what you said there, to be honest, I think the second half against Inter, I thought there were more encouraging signs, and this is what, like, on the tone of like, why am I trying to watch football without commentary? Because like you said, I was there against Milan, but I heard some of the stuff McCoist was saying, and apparently he was trying to portray that game was the same as the Newcastle game, and it just wasn't.
It was desperate for it to be the same, and I was like, "What?" It was unbelievable. It makes you want to have another form of commentary options available.
I wish it was like a red button thing. Like you've got your broadcast view, but then you can red button what commentators you want.
Yeah, or just, there is options now that you can just have the crowd, aren't there? But
is it?
I believe so.
I've got the old dodgy box, don't I? So I can't do that on that.
So I think if you pay for the subscription, you can have the just the stadium noise. But
okay, maybe that's worth the investment.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Should we go halves and like you can have your device and I'll have my device, just so we don't have to listen to Ali McCoy's.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's it for me. Similar to you, like there was encouraging signs, especially in that second half against Inter. And yesterday, I thought it was fine. I think it's in the context of like Odegaard completing 95 minutes when he's been out since the last international break.
That's some feat. Yeah, that's some feat to be able to do that. I mean, he wasn't brilliant, but you're not expecting him to be brilliant. The fact that he was back on the field and just his influence was enough. Just the coordination, the whole hybrid of the team to say, right, Odegaard's back. He's organising that. He's got Arteta's voice on the pitch. You can see just that influence that he did bring just by being on there without but obviously he was involved in the goal, so he wasn't completely nullified. But it's very encouraging to see him back, and hopefully 2 weeks rest now, huge. And I'm genuinely believe, and we can go on this further on later, but I think we're going to go on a long run.
Me too.
That's how I feel. But
I think like just on that, what I was saying about Odegaard was like Rice was back, but I don't know if you felt this. Rice didn't look fit to me, which is why I don't want to massacre his performance. Like, I thought he was fine, but like, it's other than Calafiori, most of them are back now. But like, this is the thing: a lot of people will be saying, "Oh, Arsenal had their full strength team yesterday. What's the issue?" It's like we've been having to play exactly like we've been.
But we know what Ben White does and can and cannot do, right? And when Ben White is not underlapping or overlapping and helping
he's like
out
a horse up and down that. Usually,
and if he's doing 60% of that, right? Yes, Ben White is in the team sheet and he's not injured. because he's available and he's playing.
But it's
But
not
it's
Ben
not Ben
White.
White.
Yeah.
And only
That's
Arsenal,
Benjamin White.
yeah. Only Arsenal fans will see that because we're seeing him every minute of every game. But if Liverpool fans looking at that, they're saying, "Oh well, Ben White's fit."
Yeah.
No, yeah, he's and you're right. And still don't think Rice isn't 100% fit. Mourinho is definitely not 100% fit. We know Odegaard. We know Havertz. I mean, there's a player that's getting flogged
His stitches came out again, didn't they? And he
and
started
then he got a
bleeding
yellow
again.
card. He got a yellow card for it.
I know.
But there's a player that's getting flogged every single minute. And we're wondering why his performances might be dropping off a little bit, or I still think he's doing fine. But what the bigger concern for me is, I think it's probably for Arteta, is the players that we were hoping that we're going to take the minutes off of these players are really not up to it.
Like your Jesus and
Yeah,
trying to think who else really. But yeah, Jesus is
it's
the main one that
Jesus,
comes. Sterling, yeah.
And there's even a conversation to be had about Trossard.
Yep.
You go back. Trossard's he's like the backing singer. That he's the backing singer, and then you give him an audition on X Factor, and he comes out and he's like shits himself. You know what I mean? Because every time that you do it, you think the geezer deserves to start. The geezer deserves to start. He gets his start. I'm not digging him out because, well, I am, but he's been a very, very good player for us, and for what we paid for him, he's been a tremendous value for money player for us. But he's a very frustrating player.
Yeah, he is.
And I think that's one position that we can upgrade on, and maybe his time was done. Is Trossard going to get us to the next level? No, he was always from what he came in at 20 million, he took the minutes off of Martinelli, very, very important player. But there's questions to be asked about that left-hand side.
We'll come back to that because definitely keen to have a conversation on that later. I'm actually going to make a note of that so I don't forget. But on the actual game, like, you just want to get more of your thoughts on that. You obviously said you were kind of disappointed in the draw and feeling like we could have deserved it. What did you think of some of our chances and the general play?
That was a little nice free kick that Havertz goal. That was I was so gutted that didn't stand. That would have been so nice to shush the Chelsea, wouldn't it? But then they sort of got on his back after that, which he could handle. But I thought we carved out a few chances. I thought we carved out more chances than them.
Yeah,
but nothing.
Wasn't anything like clear.
No,
cut,
I mean, there was that Martinelli in the first half where he sort of side-footed it at Sanchez, and
I think was harder than everyone was making out. Like, I think he could have done better to hit the corners rather than straight at the keeper. But I don't know. From memory, it was like half in the air. It was like bobbing.
It was half. It was sort of it was almost a one where the keeper kind of made flapped at it, and by flapping at it, he hit it. You know what I mean? It was almost as though he didn't necessarily want to save it like that.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
He kind of flapped at it, and it was at that perfect height where he just sort of flapped it away. So you kind of...
That's what I think. Any other corner, that probably goes in.
Goes in. But then he done exactly the same thing, with the goal. I mean, what a goal that was. I mean, I think you always get a feel with our studio. I think you could always sort of tell, certainly away from home, in the first 5 or 10, whether we're on it or not. And I didn't have worries from the get go. I thought, right, we're okay. We've got this.
Control. For me, it was just seeing the press straight away, like Odegaard it just felt right. Like, and
it felt more like Arsenal, didn't it? It felt more sort of, let's say, more encouraging signs.
Big time. And given the fitness, the injuries, like that, and I think the emphasis there on the fitness of the likes of Odegaard, right? Like that was a 60% fit Arsenal. Like, give them the international break.
With the Chelsea that have had their feet up, and Palmer sort of, roaming about thinking he's the main
He dropped
man.
Another stinker in another big game. He was anonymous.
It's what he does, mate.
Yeah, I know.
It's shocking, really. And I don't want to ever hear any comparisons with him and Saka. That's fucking bullshit. But no, do you know what? what I thought Cucurella did play well against Saka.
I've said that.
He, he seems to have his number, you know.
I
On
think
every time we've played against him, he certainly rated for Spain as well, and for Chelsea. Saka doesn't normally. It's one where you look on paper and you think, like, if you're looking at your FPL, you're like, oh, Saka's going to have a good game against Cucurella. This never happened.
no, I
Never
said the
happened.
same on Planet FPL, and it was. I think it's he's so front-footed and aggressive, Cucurella, that he doesn't give you any
No,
space. But even then, Saka did
he's
maneuver
done him a
in and
couple of
away,
times.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But
done
like
him a couple of
Cucurella
times.
definitely does well against him. Yeah, I think on the Martinelli chance, like, yeah, I think any other corner that probably goes in. The one thing I'm really finding frustrating with Martinelli is like when we're building up, the ball goes into Saka and you feel like it's going to progress, it's going to go somewhere. I feel like it goes to Martinelli and he does that kind of shimmy with both of his feet, drags it up 5 yards, and then it goes back to Timber or the centre back. And I'm finding
Yeah,
that really frustrating where the ball goes into him and it doesn't really convert into anything in
or
terms of a
he's
quality opportunity.
he's playing for a corner. He seems to
Yeah.
be, you know, he just sort of goes down that channel. And I remember the pod we done, and it was I think it was the first pod of the season, and
Wolves.
we spoke about Martinelli, and we said in that pod we had concerns about him, but we were going to hold back on any criticism, but it was his decision making that was the concern, and because, you know, he hasn't really moved on
No.
as a player. Like it's almost as though
Clive
he's
said
just
it perfectly on the
yeah,
Vision when he said Saka, it feels like we've watched him go from a boy to a man, and
yeah,
Martinelli, it feels like we're watching him go from a man to a boy, and
and he's
that feels like it's hit the
yeah,
nail on the head.
and you're not sort of getting the progression. You know, we go back to that pod again, and it was the shot. He used to be a shot monster, Martinelli. He was banging off 3-4 shots a game, and they're now. But I still believe we can move on to this. Is that I think Marino helped Martinelli and will help. That's the way. That's the plan, isn't it? That is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
plan.
On
I
the
thought.
topic, sorry, go on.
How did you think he played,
Who,
Marino?
Marino? Well, that was it. Like we spoke about kind of signs of encouragement, and that was one for me where when he came on, like sure, technically a couple of passes were a bit off. He miskicked the ball from across
Yeah,
from Saka or Odegaard, can't remember
yeah,
who. But in general, I thought he looked like the profile of player I thought we were getting. He looked
yeah.
comfortable in that kind of left hand side of the pitch, was getting the ball, turning out, pinging it away. He was getting in his jewels, and
He's
yeah, I
got
thought
that
that was
lovely little spin, hasn't he, in midfield?
yeah, it's a bit
Yeah, and
Scott Parker, but with
uh,
a bit of sprinkle on it.
a bit of Spanish,
Yeah,
paprika on it or something.
yeah,
I don't know. It's you just think, oh, he's going to lose it, he's going to lose it, he's going to lose it, and then he's like, bang, bang it away to Martinelli, and off we go.
yeah,
And that is encouraging if we could see more and more of that. And it's about, you know, patterns of play. Let's give the guy some time. Let's give him some patience. Let's get him up to speed. Get him up to fitness. Get him in the playbook, the Arteta playbook, and that left hand side playbook. So I'm encouraged by Mourinho. I think it depends on your expectations of him as a player. I'm seeing him as more of like a Xhaka, you know.
yeah.
Not you know, he's not an Eze, is he? He's
No.
not Madison on the left day. He's your Xhaka. He's your knitter. He'll bind everything together, open it up with being a left footer on that can open it up on that side, and he's crashing that box quite a lot. You know, he
Yeah,
seems to be
he
getting
had a
in some
header in there
chances.
as well.
He had 2 chances.
Yeah,
He had 2 really, you know, he had one where he just missed out by, it was like almost like the Gaza and Germany Euro semi moment where he sort of skidded across the box and he was like a couple of inches away. And then there was the header, I think, that he had.
yeah, that
I
was all.
think. I think he'll be good going forward.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's so hard. Like, don't get me wrong. I was not keen on him after. Well, let me rephrase that. I wasn't happy with what I saw against Newcastle.
Or Bournemouth.
And and Bournemouth. And
Yeah. But
Bournemouth, I had sympathy for him because
But Odegaard makes a difference, doesn't he?
well, that's the thing. And
If you've
Bournemouth, I
got
had sympathy for him because the system he played in, I don't think he was playing the role he was signed to do. But the Newcastle game and the Inter first half, I thought he was well off it. But this is the thing. It's so hard to judge someone when they come in during the season, they then get injured. Your ideal structure isn't there and you're having to come in. And like you said, Odegaard makes a big difference. And I think it was playing with he was playing the position he was bought to play, with a better structure around him. And even then, you could argue that the system and the game state he came into isn't ideal still, and that was still encouraging with what he put up. So yeah, I thought that was a encouraging cameo from him. And on the Trossard front, like I do really want to have that conversation later, but for a cameo off the bench, I thought that was fine from him. To be fair, like. I think my concerns with him are usually when he starts. Like I don't like him starting left wing, but I've always said I think when we play that 4-3-3, and especially when Jesus was our centre forward more than Havertz, I thought Trossard was fine when he played that role and started that role, but that's like a handful of times. So yeah. But I'm just trying to think of any other key moments in the game. Like Raya made a couple of good saves. To be fair, like that was
he took a couple of good crosses, didn't he? Which is so important because it just, I think that's the difference with the keeper like Raya, where it just calms everything down immediately, and you can just reset. Whereas suddenly you got a Ramsdale in there, or scrambling around, dropping to the floor, winking to the crowd. Whereas Raya's just bang off. There was a couple of dodgy times where I thought we were going to get caught out of the back.
Which ones were they?
Well, I think Raya played one out, and I was like, oof, I can't quite remember it, but I just know one that stuck in my head, and I was like, because he takes up some mad positions, like on the left, very, very, very wide. And I was like, mate, if that ball to Gabriel is
if it's a percent off, that's it.
That's it. And it's just one of those goals that you're just holding your head in your hands, like, oh my God, and he's going to have that on his portfolio. He will, because just the way that we play. And then I think we were good on Palmer. I think we did do a good job on Palmer.
Big time.
And Partey, again, best midfielder so far this season, but are we a little bit more vulnerable with him? Is that slightly, look at the Neto goal. That was, there's a lot of talk online about.
So I can't remember. So that goal, and I want to tie this into another conversation we started but didn't really finish. So, the whole narrative about Arsenal going 1-0 up and then parking the bus and this and that. When we went 1-0 up, it was like the 60th minute, was it?
Yeah.
I wanted to really keep an eye on that. And I was impressed with how we played. I didn't think we parked the bus at all. I thought, and you kind of touched on this earlier and we digressed, but I thought we were still looking to play offensively and stuff. And
we were the ones that were going for the second goal.
And did that goal come from Saliba being out of position? It did, right? Yeah, that's what I'm sure it was. And then, I mean, the compactness and like Neto just kind of drifted in between Havertz and Martinelli, and he just waltzed in.
It was a cracking goal, like cracking strike. But I think that's the thing. You need Clive. Clive will do it on the pod today. You'll go through, dissect like why 5 moves before it was that guy that made the mistake.
Well, I think I can't do it 5 moves before, but I've not watched Match of the Day, so I can't remember the highlights clearly, but. Saliba was out of position. Partey ended up in the back line. I'm sure Rice ended up in the back line. So it was just Havertz and Martinelli and then a gaping hole. And that's what happens when you drop from your position into the line beneath you. Then there's a gaping hole there for someone to operate. I just couldn't believe the way he just waltzed in. Like even Havertz and Martinelli, despite the key cogs not being in their roles in that specific minute, they should be able to. Yeah.
And Gabriel and Timber sort of just slid across, did they? And just sort of missed. We could have quite easily had been that ricochet off or whatever. But
for me, it was stopping him getting in the first place. It was just the way he waltzed through them. Like Havertz and Martinelli have to shut that lane down there. Like they both just kind of stood there, watched him.
And that's why you go back to like no excuses, but there's a context, isn't there? It's again, Havertz has played every single minute. Martinelli. We go back to if you're able to take some minutes, if Jesus has taken minutes off of Havertz might have a little bit more oomph here. You know, Havertz is there's I think it was the last couple of games. I think it was in the Liverpool game. He would like ran the most
Yeah,
kilometres.
it was Liverpool.
He's an absolute beast. So the guy's put a shift in. So if he's slightly off it, that's all it needs, doesn't it? In this game, look at wasn't it the Leicester game where it's just like one split half second where the guy just scored an absolute banger.
Yeah,
Where it's just at half a second that you're off. Even the Liverpool equaliser where Partey was just off, where it was a one set piece, where he was just off, and no, sorry, it was the City equaliser. The City equaliser where Partey defended. It was a 95th minute where he was just slightly slow to get into the guy. They played it out to
it
the
was
edge of the
White, I
area.
think.
Oh no, it was Partey.
Oh, was it against
Yeah,
City?
it was Partey was White was involved, but Partey was the one.
Okay.
It was Partey's man,
Sure.
and that's why I remember because Partey got a lot of stick after that
Oh,
game.
I thought you meant the guy going out to them.
No,
Oh, yeah.
it was Partey's man. He'd lost his man in the middle of the pit, and it's just a split second, and you know that's football. But I think on the context of where we are over the season, all these things have to be put into place of who we've played away. And what stretch we've got going forward.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that's why in this game, sure, in isolation, a point is frustrating, but I think when you apply that context and you look at, like, in my opinion, like I've already said, it's a 60% fit Arsenal team.
Yeah,
like Chelsea didn't really make me feel nervous. Even ignoring that, Chelsea didn't really do anything that made me shit my pants. And like going into the game, sure, I was working on the assumption I didn't think Rice or Odegaard would make it, so I predicted a defeat. But then as soon as I saw the team sheet, I was like, oh, fine. Like, I don't think we're going to be at our free-flowing best because of everyone's availability and fitness levels, but I didn't think we'd lose at all. So that's why, like, in the context of that game, I think it's fine. It's annoying that we've had to play them in that set of circumstances because I think fully baked, we absolutely beat them. I think the same about most of the teams.
Yeah, you say that about the Liverpool game, say that about the City game with the Liverpool, and that's what I keep reminding myself is that all this noise outside, you know, even the Arteta movements, you know, struck up the band again. They're marching down the high street ready to go to the Emirates. They're all out.
That's the one thing about the match going fans. Yeah. I don't think that lot will make it in.
No, yeah, that's true. They can stay outside because they ain't getting in because the away fans and the home fans will not allow that toxicity to come in, which is good.
That's the thing. In the stadium, it's still very much United.
It's you know, and I've already started. I very briefly went on X or whatever earlier, and you're starting to see that them all crawl out of their rocks.
Morons.
And I'm like, and it just all it does is mate, unfollow.
Mute.
It's mute. It's quite an easy one to do. So I'm quite glad every now and again you can have that coal. But yeah, I think, and that chance at the end, I think that just tops it off, doesn't it? Is that imagine how sweet that would have been? That you know, it was offside. We're saying.
I don't know because I've not actually watched it back. But one thing I've got to say on this thing, on like it being offside, so. Even Trossard's one, right? Like where he's blazed it over. That's sure that might have been offside. But why I'm encouraged by that is there's a difference between completely ruling something out when someone's 5 yards offside compared to when it's a yard. Because going forward, that is a pattern of play that can be slightly tweaked where you can take encouragement from that. That is a sustainable way to repeatedly create
whether it's
chances.
A toe down offside or it's just next time you're going to get that luck.
Exactly. The fact that like that won't show up on the statistics, but like that is something that I think you said it already in the final quarter. We were the ones going for it, and there were territories where I looked like, okay, we're actually going to do this. And sure, Jesus was offside. Saliba may have been offside. I've not actually watched it back to check, but we were still getting into the right areas. If Trossard doesn't hit, well, if Trossard makes better contact or leaves it completely, Havertz is going to knock it in. And I think they're the ones where, they don't count on the statistics, but you can still take encouragement from them because they're so close. It's different when, like, remember Jackson was like 8 yards offside. Like, I don't think you can look into that as like, oh, we can repeat that movement because anyone can be 8 yards offside. When it's such fine toenails, as you say, I think that's where you can take a bit more ground.
I think that was the encouragement for me was that we were going for it. I mean, we have to because we couldn't. You know, it's not in our interest no more to sit back on that defensive mindset that we've sort of slipped back into in the understandably again in context in the last few, but such a nuanced context that if you're not, even Arsenal fans aren't having it. Some are, some aren't. So never mind opposition fans. You know, if we can't agree that these were circumstances that are quite exceptional, and we're arguing amongst ourselves, and this is what I'm so keen to try and, well, not fucking nothing I could do, but like, you know, for everyone to sort of just stay together, kind of thing, because that's what, you know, they are ready for us, man. They are ready to, you know, they're all out, all the opposition fans. They are coming. Arteta this, Arteta that, and until we know this is our window, so this gap is worrying. You know, at the
Yeah.
moment, this
Go on,
gap is worrying.
let's go with it now then. So are you talking about the 9 point gap to
Yeah,
Liverpool?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think Liverpool are going to win it.
Okay. Why is
Well,
that out of interest?
I think they've still got tests and challenges that we've faced and City are going through that they may not have come up against. Now, when they won it, they were lucky that season that I think 9 of their key players played like 35 games that season, like Salah 35, Trent, you know, Van Dijk. Whether they can have another season like that remains to be seen. The fixture, you know, there's a lot of the thing that they have got going for them is they've got 4 key players that have been there and pushed City over the line. That's what they've got that we haven't.
Who's that? Allison, Trent, Salah, Van Dijk?
Yeah. So they've got those 4 that have pushed them over, 4 key players. So I still think they're flattering to deceive. There's been a couple of occasions where they've looked quite fortunate, even in the Villa game.
So I didn't watch the Villa game, but apparently they had chances.
They had chances. You know, there was, so they're living on the edge. And I'll go back to it. It fucking pissed me off was the narrative about, you know, they should have been coming to us and beating a Carabao Cup defence.
The one that finished the game was fucking Party, Ben White, Kivior, and Miles Lewis.
They'll never play again. And where's the narrative from Neville and Carragher about if you want title aspirations, you've got to knock out your rivals away from home? Well, that wasn't mentioned once. There was Liverpool have got a point. We'll move, you know, I'm sorry I'm going into a Nima rant here, but
go for it. We need a rant.
It's just a fucking narrative pisses me off, and that's why I'm now sort of any Liverpool fan I know, it's yours to lose. Yours to lose. Just tell them that it's yours to lose. And you know,
for what it's worth,
and it is really.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I think similarly to you, like I think in a couple of games they've been fortuitous. Like other teams could have been more clinical and stuff, and I think Slot's managing the squad well. Like he is rotating 1 or 2 in and out nicely. The only thing is, that I want to see this. So this run I've got in front of me now. Yes, okay, let's ignore the first one. Yeah. Let's ignore the first one. It's Southampton away, but Real Madrid in the Champions League, then City, then Newcastle away, then it's the Merseyside derby, then it's an away trip in the Champions League. Then it's Fulham. Granted, it's at Anfield, but Fulham are doing bits, and statistically, they're up there on the expected for and against data. Then it's Carabao Cup. Then it's Tottenham. You never know what you're going to get with them. So like that is a run where I think this is the thing. I'd look at 9 points and don't think that's much at all. I think you only have to look at Arsenal this season and think before we lost to Bournemouth, before the injuries happened, before the suspensions, people were talking about when are Arsenal going to lose a game? You only have to look at how quickly things switch with an injury, a suspension, this, that. Like, I think if Liverpool drop points in a couple of them games, if they get an injury somewhere, like you never know. Things swing very quickly in football. My only concern is that they've given themselves the buffer room to still have that slip up.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. Like, do I think Liverpool can lose 3 games? Absolutely. But can they lose 6? which is what it probably requires given the lack of buffer room we've got. That's my concern. But I'm trying my best to now just kind of focus on us, because we spoke about Arsenal potentially going on a run. I absolutely think we can.
Well, if you got our fixtures, because I think that this is how I'm looking at it. You're talking.
Tell
about
me when
phases.
you're ready for them. I've got them.
I'm ready. But our phase is, and you'll read them out now. I want to see the league table on. Let's go. Is it the first week in January? Right. Let's pick. And then if Liverpool are 9 points clear of us on that first week in January, we're fucked.
Agree. Definitely agree with that.
So go for the fixtures.
Do you want the Champions League in there as well?
Yeah.
All right. So we got Nottingham Forest at home on the other side of this international break. Sporting Lisbon away in the Champions League. Sorry. Then we've got West Ham away, Man United at home, Fulham away, Monaco Champions League, Everton at home, Palace Carabao Cup, Palace away in the league, Ipswich at home, and then you said for the first week of Jan, so I'll just read out the first two games in January: Brentford away and then Brighton away. So we don't leave London at all in December. There's a mixture of good games in there, some tough ones, but I think it's one of them where this Arsenal team, when fully cooked and everyone is fit, before that Bournemouth game, I was in a headspace of I don't think we will lose any games, just with how much quality and domination we showed. And I think we'll quickly see us return back to that. I think Forest at home after the international break will be a bit tough, but I think we'll slowly see us get back into that comfort and domination in most teams. And if, like you said, we get into January and we're 9 points behind Liverpool, that would mean that Liverpool have won all of their tough games. And at that point, I'm holding my hands up saying fair play.
And you can't do no more than that. And it's almost like, so I'm prepared. I'm trying to keep my shit together and just think, right, let's revisit this. Our performances, the performances of certain players, the performances of certain signings. Let's revisit. Let's just chill for a little bit, and let's come back in January, just before we play the filth down the road, because I think that's the third. That's the game after.
You're right.
Isn't it? I think
it is. Yes, this is the one after Brighton. Yeah.
So let's revisit then, and if we've been just simmering along nicely, just picking up win after win after win, let's hope that we, and we can be a bit more. Let's take the handbrake off, shall we say?
Oh, yeah.
And just go right. Let's go for a little bit and rack up those 3, 2, 3, 4 wins that we were putting. Let's start emptying some fucking stadiums again.
That's how quickly it changes that, and then it's something that so when we went on that run earlier in the calendar
year,
there was
that 3 game spell, wasn't it?
It was exactly the 3 game spell. Yeah. It was Fulham, West Ham, Liverpool in the cup.
And Liverpool in the cup was the encouragement. We lost, but we looked at Reece Nelson played, and we sort of had that. We started. I thought we lost, but I thought actually we did okay there, and it's just that little bit. And then we went on that run, and I think let's just hope that this, and I think that's why it was important not to lose. We know it's. I don't think it was a must win, but it was certainly a must not lose, because that's why I was slightly disappointed we didn't win, but almost relieved. I don't think, as I said before, Chelsea did nothing that made me think we deserved to win 2-1. It was just, you never know with a corner at the end and suddenly a fucking deflection. I think there was one chance at the end where I was like, they had a slight thing, and I was like, oh fuck, this would just be it, where they'll get a winner.
I can't actually remember it.
I think there was something in the last couple of minutes, so I just thought this would just be so typical. I don't think it was quite a goal line, but I thought this could quite easily, a back pass or whatever, and suddenly we're fucked. So let's go back. Let's go back to January and just get some confidence in the team again. With Odegaard running the show, hopefully we get Calafiori back, because I think that will make a difference. Get Mourinho firing and get the chance to rotate a few of these players. So Sterling is still an important part of this squad. I'm afraid to say he needs to. We need to be in a position to make him work, where he's been coming in firefighting at the moment, where he's been either on the pitch at Bournemouth, where he's been taken off. He's been. I'm not saying he's lit the world up by any stretch of imagination, but I'm still prepared. the guy isn't important because he needs to take minutes
I
off
like
people.
I like the word you use there. It's firefighting. Even people like Jesus right now, Jesus, Sterling, Marino have come into situations where they're firefighting.
Yeah,
They are hopefully going to have the ability, surrounded by a fully fit squad, where they can come in and the fire's already out,
yeah,
and they can come in and they're just like, yeah, they can feel themselves a little bit. They can build that confidence up. Everything since the last international break has been firefighting. I think that's the perfect word to summarize
yeah,
it. Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen Arteta's post-match presser. He was basically acknowledging that as well. He literally used the word, "It's been a nightmare." He said, like
yeah. Really,
yeah, he's because, and to paraphrase him, he was saying every week there's like a fitness concern or a new injury or the suspension, and it's like I think this is the thing outside of Arsenal circles, people aren't going to acknowledge just because names are on the team sheet, they think they're fit. Like they are absolutely not.
I think you referenced it before in a couple of pods ago, where it's just not that one injury; it's the compact of not having the next guy up that can cover that or what do what he does in that team
That was
or
yeah, I
in
was
that
saying that
structure in
around
that
Gabriel
system.
going
Yeah,
off against Liverpool. Yeah,
yeah, and it was just so it's just not the one. It goes back to the not a couple of years ago, not having Saliba. Well, not having Saliba wasn't the issue. It was not. Yes, it was an issue, but it was then not having Tomiyasu to cover Saliba,
that's
which
it.
led to Holding playing. So that's why having four fullbacks all injured at the same time or all half various stages of fitness, with ended up with Miles with Lewis Skelly on the pitch. That's what you come. That's what you're coming down to, and then you've got,
Exactly.
and then you yeah. So I'm fairly relaxed.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's the thing. Like, even though we've already spoken about it, that run we went on earlier in the calendar year, no one was thinking or talking about Arsenal being a 5-0, 6-0 team prior to
No,
that.
no,
And then no one talks about it until it happens. And that's the
yeah,
thing. I think that's why football changes very quickly. And all it takes is a momentum shifter of Arsenal to win 2 games by more than 2, 3 goals and Liverpool to
yeah,
slip up in 1 or 2. And boom, momentum shifts
yeah,
quickly. So I'm the same as
and
you. Like
it's
nine points isn't great, but let's see come January. I think I'm very much in the headspace now of like, because I found this well, it's only been 4 weeks since the last international break. I found it quite stressful, to be honest. So I just want to go back to like one game at a
mm,
time on the other side of it. Couple of topics I made notes on as we were chatting, which I said I would park that conversation for later. So it's later. So which one do you want to do first? The Trossard and the wide forward attacking area first, or
yeah,
the
yeah.
midfield balance and what you said about Party being in the team, the best
Trossard.
midfielder? But go for it. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, there were rumours of him with a big move, wasn't there? With after the was it after the transfer window shut
It
or
was
a
it
Saudi
was
move?
it was a funny timing of literally the
Yes,
final couple of days of our
yeah,
English transfer window, but ran into when the Saudi one finished, which was
yeah.
after.
And we've said it. We think he's been a fantastic player, but just something looks a bit off this season. He's done well. He's had a couple of really good performances, but then you look at the pass Bournemouth. You can't just be digging out for individual mistakes, but when you start building up a little bit of a bigger picture, there's a pass against Bournemouth that got Saliba the red card. Just looked a little bit lackadaisical. Then there was the red against City. Okay, that's nonsense officiating. That's nothing to do with him really. Then there's the goal celebration
Against Villa.
where against Villa. Then you've got,
Can
I
I
don't
add in
know,
another factor?
yeah,
The way he left Brighton, there were bad noises about that.
yes, and this is what I'm saying. I think this is, and we kind of accept players. It's the same with Aubameyang, wasn't there? Aubameyang had it with Dortmund and about how he left, and it was like, no, right, yeah, it was good professional and that, and there were rumblings on that, and maybe he wasn't happy. Maybe he does think he needs to be starting. More than he does, and he probably had a case at some point, but he doesn't do it. He's not doing it enough that Arteta wants to play him every week, especially now Martinelli's back. So I think going forward, I would not be surprised if he went in January.
Neither would I, to be honest. And I don't think
But
both
we
him and
then
Jesus would
no,
go, but I think one of
but
them could.
we then need to replenish him, don't we? We need someone else to come in for him, and that's the next question. I think was Nico Williams, was he the one that we should have really pushed the button? I remember conversations in the summer. It was like, well, if you had, who would you rather, Nico Williams or Martinelli? And a lot of people were saying, oh no, I'll stick with
You
Martinelli.
don't want to stunt
Well,
his development. I hate that
yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah,
sentence.
yeah,
Fuck their development, man. If they're good enough, they'll make it.
and now have that conversation again. I don't actually want to know how much has Williams been ripping it up
I
in the
don't know.
La
The fact
Liga.
that I
I
haven't
don't.
really heard his name since,
That
and I've only
tells
heard
me
Liao's.
that tells me that he hasn't. So I certainly think and I'm sure we are. I think there's recruitment to be made. We've all known it. You've been saying it for 2 years. There's recruitment to be made in the forward line. It's about finding the right profile, and I think Trossard could be on his way out as well as Jesus. I think they're both. Their time is done. To some, I mean, Jesus. What's he bringing to the table at the moment? He's shocking, and that's the disappointing thing about him is that he was such an exciting player and such a prospect for us. And that pre-World Cup was like unbelievable what he brought to us. He took us to another level. But now you're looking at him thinking, mate, you should be doing a job for us. And I think that's what can we do as maybe we should have known last summer with the knee injuries or whatever. But if you're trying to build a squad, we need to replace Jesus because
Yeah,
he's not
absolutely.
he's not one for next season.
No,
And then
and
it goes
you only
back
have,
to sorry, go on.
no, I was going to say you only have to go back as far as this preseason, where
Yeah,
granted, Leverkusen were a week behind in their schedule, but in that game, Jesus started, and I'd say in pre-season that was Arsenal at their free-flowing best. He looked unbelievable to the point where if he was fit, I was convinced he was going to start against Wolves.
I
I know
was.
Arsenal had, I know
Yeah,
Arsenal
I
had another
was. Yeah,
pre-season game after Leverkusen before Wolves, but he looked great, and all the noises from Arteta were positive around him, but he looks such a shadow of himself at the minute, and do you know what? If I can tie this into what you were just saying about Trossard and what, like, in the summer, and I've been talking about needing an attacking profile for 2 summers now. I said it last summer
yeah, I know.
as well as this summer. Like, for me, Liverpool are actually the benchmark in terms of the attacking group. They've got players like Salah, Luis Diaz, Gakpo, Darwin Núñez. I'm missing one.
Jota.
Jota, sorry, how can I forget him? He
Yeah,
ruins us every time he plays us. And then the sixth one who is injured is Chiesa. But that I kind of look as Chiesa as
or
like that could be
Elliot,
your
or yeah,
Sterling or
yeah,
your Nelson if he was here, right? Like the sixth one doesn't really matter. But I look at us and I think the only ones I feel that are like capable of performing at a level, and I say that because Saka and Havertz are obvious. I still think Martinelli in certain situations, if he's not used 38 game weeks, can be in that level. Jesus Trossard, I'm not convinced. Trossard, I would not mind if he was like our Chiesa or our fifth choice attacker. I
yeah,
don't want to be relying on him starting. If he's someone that we need to come off the bench, I don't mind that.
no,
Jesus is more of a priority for me to shift with
yeah,
what I can see with my eyes and knowing his financial resources.
yeah.
Trossard, if there's an issue there behind the scenes, then get him out. But I
I
just
think
think
I
this
agree.
group
Yeah,
is. Sorry, I'll just finish this final bit.
yeah,
I promise. But then I just think this group is lacking a real top quality transition, power, pace animal to supplement Saka, to
yeah,
supplement Havertz. I still think. Sorry, I don't still think. I've never thought this before until the recent weeks. I think Arsenal need a number 9. I've never said that before, and it's not to the detriment of Havertz. I think it's to supplement Havertz. I think there's
yeah,
certain territories we get into where we could do with a number 9 that attacks the
yeah,
near post, that makes a run, that invites pass. Because Havertz is great, but he doesn't make those traditional centre forwards runs. He's quite unusual, and it works. But I think this group, if you could pick Arsenal's group and I could play FIFA, it would be Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, a top-class wide forward, and another number 9. That would be my 5, and then Trossard would be your Chiesa as the 6th, and I'd be
yeah.
happy.
Yeah, but I think that I totally agree, mate. It's absolutely bang on. It's the player profiles that fit those two positions. We know the positions, but what
So
do
do
you
you
go
think
for?
a number 9's needed as well then?
Yeah,
Okay.
to take the purely from what we said earlier, it's just to take minutes. You're looking at Havertz; he's getting flogged. So we're judging a guy on who's having to play. He's dropping here, he's doing that, he's playing on the right. He's just getting flogged, and you've got that rotation at Liverpool that is taking minutes off players. It's all about load on players, isn't it? We're now becoming more and more aware of when we come to April, March, and you're looking at, say, the Liverpool front line, and they've got 2,000 minutes or 1,500 minutes across them each, and you're looking at ours, and we're up to like 2,900 or whatever it is possible at that time. That's a huge difference. So that running, they're going to be fresh, and we've got a bit of a, we got a dodgy running. So
Yeah.
I just think that those players, that they have to be. I think Sterling, and Clive said it on the Vision, is Sterling is that, and it resonated with my head now, and this is how I judge him. Sterling is Nelson's
That's
upgrade.
what I said when we signed him. That's what I don't
Yeah.
care about Sterling. Like
No,
he's Reece Nelson there in my head.
He's the Reece Nelson in my head. That's it. So I've come to accept that, but we that's not what we're talking about now, are we? We're talking about you need someone who's that top quality. You've got Saka on the right hand side, and you need it on the left. And after a performance like Neto's yesterday, I'm more interested in someone like Neto than Mudryk. Mudryk was done and never's going to happen, but Neto was something that we were interested in, and he looked like he could have fitted into our team.
Plays off both sides, and yeah, I think that I just think even though I included Martinelli in that group, like the ball goes into Saka, you feel like something's always going to happen.
Yes.
And to tie into this, I've got a question in from Colm, who says, what's going on with Martinelli's current decision making? And I think that's the thing. When the ball goes to Saka, something always happens. With Martinelli, I spoke about this earlier, right? He shimmies it in between both feet, kind of goes up 5 to 10 yards, and then it goes back. Like in terms of his decision making, I don't know where to start with this because there's fundamentals in his game that you and I have both said they haven't evolved or developed in the last 2-3 years, right? I don't know. I think there's an element of he's lacking confidence, so second guessing himself. The one thing I'll give him praise for, like he works like a bull every game. Yeah. And I love that because even to have the heart to do that when things aren't going great, fair play to him. But it's football, it's elite sport. We're trying to get to a level, and I said it in the summer. I think we both said it. You said after the Wolves game when we reviewed that, like the left wing spot is up for grabs. That is a spot where you're looking at that can be upgraded. So to the actual question, what's going on with his decision making? I think it's just an element of he's been unfortunate last year with injuries. He's been unfortunate with the dynamics on the left-hand side, but there's an element of there's fundamentals in his game that haven't evolved with the development of the team and the environment around him, which has gone from mediocre to elite, and he hasn't quite hit that same height.
It's like he was at his best when he had Zinchenko and Xhaka on that left hand side, and it's almost like you don't want to be that player that has to have those players with you to be able to perform. Like Saka, you chuck Saka in anywhere, any system, any team.
Well, we've seen it in the last
England, any position, anyone on that pitch, and he can still do Saka things. Martinelli doesn't want to become that player that he could only perform when he had Xhaka doing. Now, we've spoken about Mourinho. Hopefully, Mourinho can do those Xhaka things and give a bit more structure and a triangle on that left-hand side with the Calafiori. So maybe that could be a new a triangle that could be opening up going forward. So let's see what again. We've got a lot of things. I think that's a nice checkpoint. That January sort of after Christmas period is like we've got a nice run to get things in. As you said, get a nice serene atmosphere around Arsenal at the moment because it's been a bit of a shit show. We're the story. So let's hope that all the pressure, all the talk goes on to Liverpool about let them, sort of won a couple of, lose a couple of games or whatever, but just get through this next 10 just picking up these points and let the players like Marino settle in on that side and see how he can have an impact on whether it will improve Martinelli. And if Mourinho does settle in on that left-hand side and Martinelli is still not doing it, then there's a question and a decision to be had next summer going forward. Is it time to cut loose a Martinelli? That's
Yeah, possibly.
you've got to be ruthless. And I'm just saying that's a long way away, but we can't. We've got to give him the tools to provide, show him at his best, and perhaps we haven't been doing that as a team for the last year or so. So, and let's see what can happen if he does get them.
Another thing you mentioned earlier, and I've got a lot of thoughts on this. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned. Do you know what it was you mentioned?
Party being more vulnerable.
Yeah. So can I rephrase it into a different question? So yeah, because I've seen this in another group chat today as well. So the kind of hypothesis, let's say, is Party as the 6. We have great fluidity, but we look less compact. Rice as the 6. We look more compact, but less fluidity.
Yeah.
Where do you? Yeah, discuss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I heard on the. I'll add one more bit into that actually. So I heard on the Arsenal Vision instant reaction, Elliot saying it quite nicely. Party has been our best midfielder this season.
Yes.
But when Arsenal had their best run last season, Party wasn't in the team. So does his strengths outweigh the negatives?
It's something that he mentioned it. You know, he mentioned it early on. Well, he mentioned it last season, Elliot, on the Vision, and it was something that there were a couple of games that we sort of, when Party did come back in, we were opened up.
He was in the running.
It was in the running, wasn't it? And suddenly we looked we looked a little bit more shaky, but it's such a fine balance because he does give you. Party can just drop shoulders and little touches here and little things there that we need, because if you've lost the passing of Zinchenko, Saliba doesn't seem to be. I'm a bit. I've seen Saliba be. I think there's a before. I think the French national team is knocking the bravery out of Saliba's play. You know,
I think he's been a shadow of himself.
I think this season he's not playing the balls. I've seen him check himself, and that has maybe it's because again Odegaard's not there and the patterns aren't there, and you can go into all of that. But I just think with Partey he does give you that splitting the blinds and the bravery of the passes, and it's the risk and reward, isn't it? But if it then opens you up, I think there are. If you look at the amount of shots, we used to be quite miserly with the amount of shots that we were letting even be taken, never mind on target. You know, there's the old United were having like 80 or 100 shots being allowed against them. We were down to like 30 or 25 shots. So Raya was doing nothing. Since Partey's in that team, though, that number's sneaked up. So we are allowing more shots on goal.
I definitely feel like this season I'm seeing, to be honest, it's only post Bournemouth that Arsenal looks easier to play through and teams get through our thirds a bit easier. And I don't know if that's a big enough sample to jump to a conclusion. But my big question that I haven't quite framed in my own head is Arteta went and bought Declan Rice for 105 mil last summer, right? So we still aren't sure where he prefers him. We've seen him 8, we've seen him 6.
Yeah.
In that summer, that was when Granit Xhaka left, right? And the midfield of Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard was so balanced. Going into that summer, I just thought we needed a Xhaka upgrade. I would have loved to keep him as a squad player because I thought he was still great, but I think there was more we could get from that role. I sometimes wonder, and the reason I check myself on this is because what I'm about to say will be dispelled by evidence I'll also give in a second. I do sometimes wonder if Arteta got a bit scarred by that run in 22-23, where we kind of were sure we lost Saliba. Was that 22-23?
Yeah.
Where we lost Saliba, but then defensively we opened up a lot in that second half of the season. Like, because that pre-World Cup, we were playing such fluid football, and we went to a very dominant, powerful system, which this is why I say the evidence dispels what I'm going to say, because we went on that run January to April, January to the end of the season this calendar year, where we dismantled everyone apart from Villa and City. And in that spell, no one was talking about it. And like Jorginho was there, Rice was there, but I think we kind of fell on that as a solution. I don't think that was the designed solution.
No.
And I do wonder, is our midfield dynamics and has our recruitment been a little bit clunky and a little bit square pegs, round holes? Because I don't think we can say for certain that, okay, basically what we've just said, you put Partey in there, great. Ball progression's great, but we lose compactness. You put Rice there, oh my God, he's a hoover. He cleans everything up. But then we look a bit stale with our ball progression. It's a real interesting one that I can't quite make up my mind on.
It's you said the right word. It's balance, isn't it? It's the balance of what we're getting from that combination compared to that combination, and it's whether you could fix other things in other parts of the team that will allow you to still have play that. So I think we're still working on it, aren't we? So we're still 11 games in, and we're still working on our best midfield. So we're almost doing the Pep thing of working on it, and that's what Arteta's been has done in the past, is managed to find a solution, and then he'll stick with that for like 10, 15 games. And I think that's maybe until it gets found out, and then he'll go, an injury or whatever. And I think maybe with I don't think we can underplay the importance of the fitness of the players. But are they ever going to be? Are you ever going to have fully fit players? No, but I still think we're undercooked for whatever reason. So, and that's having a huge effect on the midfield. But I do say about Partey is he is one of those players though that you just have to keep playing him because let's be honest, in 5 games' time, Partey will probably be injured.
Yeah.
So he will be, and that's why I've said it about the Tomiyasus, the almost Jesus, or certainly Partey. Just play him.
Zinchenko sometimes.
Zinchenko, just play him, because that. Just play him when you got him, because he's the whole point. We keep saying it. It's about minutes. It's about minutes, but that's not what Partey's role has been. I don't think we thought Partey was going to be this good and this fit. This season, I think it's given Arteta a bit of a problem that he may not have encountered at the start of the season. I don't think he realised, and it's almost, and I don't think, and I think it was almost put upon him because of Marino's injury straight away, wasn't it? So suddenly Partey's there, and he has played. I think he has been our best midfielder. But going forward, what we decide to do, I mean, what would you do?
I think.
Okay, what would you do? And it's what Arteta would do. That's the two things.
So to be fair, I think both will be the same. What, as great as Partey's been,
he's not the future.
No, and I'm trying to get my thoughts into words for the second. I think it's going to be Rice, Marino, Odegaard eventually. I think he'll play with Partey until there is a reason that he can't. I saw it's very dangerous to do this based on seeing a half or a few minutes of a player, but Marino looked more technical than I thought against Chelsea when he came on than I thought he was capable of before that. Yeah. I think I had a slight concern that and this is when I say, has Arteta been scarred by that running? Like, we went from this really pretty football team to this like bastardized, powerful monster unit, which is great, but it doesn't look great when you look like you don't know how to play football and you're just trying to bully teams. Like, that's when it doesn't look great.
And that's when the Stoke-esque vibe comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think the balance will be there with Rice, Marino, Odegaard, because Odegaard doesn't just play in the pockets. He drifts into all phases. He facilitates and build up. And I think the balance will look better then. And I think we'll see less emphasis on the lack of ball progression through Declan Rice when that balanced midfield is out. I think it really stands out at the moment just because of the dynamics.
There.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I've always thought with Rice in the team, you need a Zinchenko, you need a Jorginho, and even Timber from left back. I don't think he's a ball progressor in like a passing Like we saw
But
it on Sunday. He likes to
he just
carry.
drives, doesn't he? Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just going to carry. And then if you've got Calafiori there as well, again, if you've got Rice there, Rice will just become the hoover up and he'll just be the dominant force, which is what he's there for. And then you've got the others that Calafiori could drive forward. You've got Marino on that side, but Martinelli coming in, and Odegaard as well. So I think,
yeah, and this is where I think Arteta's Arsenal, I think it looks quite clunky at the minute because of the circumstances. But I think where I spoke about that pretty balanced team, I think he's wanted to evolve it from that to power with transition and technical quality, but we haven't quite had that yet. I think that, like, if you look at the likes of Calafiori, Timber coming in, Marino's profile, I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to evolve it into an outfit that looks like it belongs in the Champions League, in my opinion. And I think it will
big
take
boys.
some time to
Yeah,
get there. But give it 4 or 5 games of that midfield of Rice, Marino, Odegaard, and we'll be thinking very differently about it, I
yeah,
think.
agreed.
Lovely stuff. Anything more that you want to add or chat about before we get out of here?
All good, mate. All good.
Nice one. Enjoyed that a lot. It's yeah, quite. I think
Therapy.
it was. Yeah, I feel a bit like I got shit off my chest and feel a bit lighter after that. Yeah.
We need to, because otherwise that's why it was so important, because we don't want that weight hanging over us for 2 weeks, because we go down dark places as fans and as a fan base, and it's just, it's good to have a bit of perspective. We just think, look, yes, it's not great. We want to be. We don't want to be where we want to be. But we've played some tough teams in some tough circumstances. And if we are where we are now, still talking about the midfield not hitting it off, and left eights and Havertz, and Trossard not doing it in January, then I think we are in trouble, and we're in a top 4. Top 6 battle rather than a title, and we've got to lower our expectations, and then different conversations will be had. But until then, I think, let's just keep, just hope no players go on international duty. That's all we can.
Yeah, well, I don't think Saka and Rice will, based on his Arteta's post-match comments. But yeah, I think the fixture thing you say is so spot on. Like, we've literally played Liverpool, we played City away, we've now played Chelsea away, we're sat in 4th, we've got Nottingham Forest on the other side of the international break, we've played Brighton at home. Okay, have we played Fulham? No, Newcastle away, we've done that. Villa, did we play
Villa away,
oh
beat
fuck
them.
me, yeah, I was literally there.
So
and
Tottenham.
Tottenham.
We've played Tottenham.
So I've literally just ran through the top half of the table, and the only team we haven't played there was Fulham. That. I mean, and Nottingham Forest on the other side.
And Liverpool have played 5 of the top 10, and 1 of them's been away, which was us. And they couldn't beat us. So let's put it into let's go back in January, see where we are.
Yeah, exactly. Nicely done. But no, thanks a lot for jumping on. And I think you're spot on. This was literally therapy, which I didn't realize I needed. But I think that's the tricky thing with this. Like, I want to find people on Twitter to kind of have my therapy with, but like even on there, you just get all the cesspit opinions, and it's like it's quite. I joked about the irony of doing a podcast at the start, and like you should all feel how you feel about football, but like there's certain people where you can feel, even if you've got differing opinions, you can feel like you all want the same thing. I think on Twitter, I've started to find people with their agendas popping up
and narratives, and it's about fine tuning your bubble, isn't it? And I know we're constantly doing it, and it's not just about so you don't want. But if I'm talking absolutely outrageous fucking idiots that you're just like, why are you on my timeline? I don't want to hear that shit. So it's good to have friends. I'm in group chats with mates, and we've all got different opinions, but it's all about a discussion and a debate. But ultimately, we do want the same thing. But when people are coming with agendas, that's the sort of bubble that I don't want to be involved in. And that's why you can stick to a group chat where everyone's got different opinions, but there's no idiots in there. And choose the podcasts and media that you listen to wisely, because otherwise it's just rage listening, and that's that we don't want to be go down there. So.
Exactly. Well, if
so
if
on
this
that
was...
point, on that point, like and describe.
Oh, you stole that. You set me up
Sorry,
there.
mate.
Then
Sorry,
you
mate.
got the assist and the fucking goal. Genuinely, on that note,
I was one of those where I knocked it towards the goal, and then the striker was going to knock it in, and then I've just come in and like nabbed it over the line.
it was like a Ronaldo nanny moment.
That's the one. Yeah.
But no, genuinely, if this is a podcast that you're listening to and you're not subscribed to, and you haven't found yourself raging, and you feel like it's one where you can feel part of this community, please, subscribe to the channel. We do weekly reviews and previews of all the games, and like to think within the community of people that A, join in the live, but then B, like Uncle Mike, come on, Bobby comes on, Scott, Dream Team Professor, comes on as a guest sometimes.
Blanca's been on.
Yeah, if they're all the type of people that you feel resonate with you, including Nima and myself, then subscribe to the channel and drop a review on podcast. It helps us a lot. If you want to make the mistake of adding Uncle Mike to your timeline on Twitter, you can follow him at FPL Mike H. I'm obviously joking. He's as you can tell from this episode, a great guy to chat Arsenal with. And I don't know what I would do without you in my Arsenal supporting days sometimes. Nice one. Thanks a lot, mate. It was great to have you back on. And enjoy the international break. And we will be back to preview the Forest game in about 10 days' time. Nice one. It's not doom and gloom. It's only 9 points. We're going to go on a run. Chill. It's all good.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Up the Arsenal. Come on.
See you later.